This is short foot. I apologise that I can't get my head in. My room is not quite big enough to get my head in, but my head is the least important part of this. I'm going to show you the exercise as a sort of overall macro exercise to start with, and then we're going to zoom in at the feet so that you can focus on what your feet are doing to make sure that you are nailing the movement of the toes, the ball of the foot, and making sure that your ankles aren't cheating as well. So the overall position for short foot is that you are standing up and you're going to put one foot in front of the other. So the front heel is level with the toes of the back foot. You are making sure that your feet are perfectly parallel here. So when you look down at your feet, your toes, the middle of your second and third toes, are not wider than your ankles. So the middle of your toes, your ankles, your knees and your hips are all in alignment with one another. You're bending your knees, which is probably one of the hardest things about this exercise, although I think all of it's probably quite hard. And it's almost like you're going skiing, so you're staying down in your knees throughout. You may well notice that you want to straighten your knees and bring your upper body forwards. You're keeping the knees bent, you're keeping the pelvis backwards, so it's really putting quite a lot of weight through that back foot. Although you've still got weight through the front foot, you're not going so far backwards, but it's unlikely that you'll want to do that just because it's hard to do that. So you're keeping that weight back in that rear ankle, and you're trying to keep your shoulders back over your pelvis. So you're really watching to see and stop if your upper body wants to come forwards. You're watching to see if your pelvis wants to rotate like this. You're watching to see if your knees want to straighten and the pelvis comes forward. What we are doing is we have those parallel feet, the knees are bent, the legs are therefore working hard being in this bent knee position. The pelvis stays straight, the pelvic headlamps face straight ahead throughout, they're not swinging and rotating. You might find that you have a tendency for one hip to slide forward further than the other, and you're really trying to keep them, when you look down at yourself, facing in alignment, facing straight ahead. The shoulders stay back over the pelvis. You can just have your hands like relaxed by your side here. You can have your hands on your hips, pulling your shoulder blades back and down behind you, trying to squeeze your elbows together to touch. They won't touch, but they're kind of going in that direction. So you've got that as an option, and that should help kind of engage your upper body to keep it going backwards, to stop it going forwards. Another option is spreading your fingers super wide on both sides, keeping your hands really tight to your body, so they're not like this, they're very close in at the thighs, and pulling the shoulders back and down behind you as well. So I'm really active here through every single one of my fingers. The hands are staying in, they're not splaying out to the side, and I'm pulling those shoulder blades back and down so that they touch behind me, they touch each other, and they're as far away from my ears as possible. And I'm trying to get a sort of backwards movement through my upper arms like this. So I'm not just like being kind of lazy in that position, it's super, super active through every finger, hand, bit of my arm and shoulder blades, and it's going to help keep my shoulders over my pelvis in this bent position here, like so. So this is how the overall body is going to look when I have my right foot forward. We're going to be doing it on both sides, which we'll come to in a second. This is how it's going to look when I do my left hand side, like so. And now we're going to zoom in at the feet so you can see the movement that we're going after, and then we'll run through the exercise. So I'm going to show you this a bit more close in at the feet so you can really study what my toes and the arches of my feet are doing here. This exercise, short foot, is one where if you don't nail the sort of toe, ball of foot thing that's going on, you'll lose most of the intention of the exercise. And you have to be mindful of the fact that your body is probably going to want to compensate a lot as you do this, because it's trying to make it easier for you and take you down the path that you always do. And what we are trying to do is rewire how your foot, how your toes, how your effectively whole leg moves and engages differently with the foot. So we have our feet, which are in a parallel position. They are hip width apart, but you've got one foot further in front of the other. So it's like the heel of the front leg is in alignment with the toes of the back leg. We've got the bend through the knees, and we've got our shoulders over our pelvis, be super wary of your upper body coming forwards or your pelvis twisting. So you're trying to keep your pelvis headlamps, your hips facing straight ahead throughout the exercise. Just to walk you through the foot position, this is parallel feet alignment. Notice how the second and third toes are in alignment with the ankle, alignment with the knee, alignment with the hip on both sides. This is not parallel foot alignment. This is not parallel foot alignment. Watch that back foot. It's this back foot that is most likely to do the cheating in my experience with my clients, and it can make all the difference. If that back foot shifts, it might not work properly. Well, it won't work properly. Okay, so what we are doing, and the slower, the more deliberate, and the more mindful that you can be here, the more you will get out of this exercise. So do not rush this exercise and focus on every single movement of the foot. So what we are doing is we are lifting the toes, every single one of them, up off the floor. We are spreading them wide as much as we can, and we are placing them down on the floor. We are then trying to draw the big toe joints towards the heel of the foot here. Ignore the fact that I've just lost this foot position. I'm just showing you this where I want you to focus. So we're scrunching the big toe joints up towards the ankle here, and you can see how that's lifted and engaged the arch of my foot, and you can also see nicely how the rug has also sort of puckered here with that work that I've been doing. What I am not doing as I do these movements like this is I am not scrunching up my toes and lifting the big toe joint up off the floor to create the movement. So can you see there that I'm scooching my toes under, and that is the toe creating that movement versus the toe staying long and flat, and it's the big toe joint pushing down into the floor, pulling towards the arch of the foot. The toes are relaxed and long when they are on the floor. They are not scrunching up. You might find that really, really, really hard to start with, but do your best to not scrunch the toes up because they're compensating. We're trying to get the movement occurring from here. So it's this pinching movement of the big toe towards the ankle, not the scrunching of the toes. You will notice that your big toe may well want to lift up off the floor. It may be extremely subtle, but that is still not right. So watch for that. Another key compensation that I see as I do this is when I ask my clients to lift their toes up off the floor, often their body will rock their foot into pronation to create that lift. So the outside edge of the foot must stay grounded throughout that lift, as does the inside edge. So it looks like this: lift up, spread, place back down carefully all the toes, push down into the floor, scrunch the big toe towards the heel, and then repeat, lift, spread, place, push, scrunch, lift, spread, place, push, scrunch. There's lots of different parts of that movement. What I'm not doing is rock, lift, spread, push, scrunch. Okay, so there's no movement side to side of the foot here like this. We're using the extensors of the toes to lift them up off the floor like that, not the rocking of the foot. So I'm going to walk you through this movement. We'll do 20 reps. I won't do like the full thing, but I just want you to see this close up. So back foot is parallel, knees are bent, pelvis stays backwards over the ankles. It's not drifting forwards, which you might notice that it wants to do. Weight is even through both feet. Your pelvis is not twisting, and your shoulders are back over the pelvis. Without tipping your front foot inwards, you are going to lift all of the toes up, keeping the ball of the foot from inside edge to outside edge on the floor. You're spreading the toes wide. You're placing them back down carefully. You push down into the floor with the ball of the feet and the toes without scrunching them as much as possible. And then you scoop the big toe joints towards the heel without scrunching the toes or lifting the big toe joint up off the floor. And we repeat. So we're lifting the toes, spreading them, placing them down, pushing and scrunching for each rep. That is a full rep. It's that full movement. through the toes and through the foot. You're not just doing that once, putting the toes down and scrunching over and over again. You're lifting, spreading, placing, pushing, scrunching. We've run through the how-to of this exercise, and now we are going to do 3 sets of 10 on each side of your body. So I've got my parallel feet. I'm keeping the toes grounded to start with, making sure that that back ankle does not spin in. I'm keeping it more spinned out than it wants to, bending deeply into my knees, my pelvis stays straight. I'm going to do this version with my hands, so I'm spreading my fingers super, super wide, like active starfish. My hands stay close to the sides of my hips, they're not spreading away, and I'm pulling my shoulder blades back and down behind me, trying to get the upper arms back as well. That's going to help keep my shoulders over my pelvis, and I'm staying down in this leg position throughout so that this back leg is going to get really tired because of the weight that it's carrying, but we're also doing a bunch of work to that front foot as well. So without rocking the foot in, I'm lifting all of the toes on my right foot, spreading them wide, placing them down, pushing down into the floor and scrunching. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and notice that your notice that your knees might want to straighten up, so try and correct that. 6, 7, put all that work into that back leg. 8, 9, and 10. We're going to swap sides, and I'm going to do it this way just so that you can see my left foot and its movement. So once again, parallel feet, I'm using the line on my rug to help me, bending deeply, knees and pelvis face straight ahead, upper body back, over the pelvis, hands are spreading wide, keeping them in, and off we go. Whoa. Ooh. Lift, spread, place, push, squeeze. Oh, and I'm already getting a cramp in the arch of my left foot, which is good. Lift, spread, place, push down, squeeze. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I felt very mal coordinated on that foot, so it was really hard for me to count accurately, which probably says something about the function of my left foot. It's not as functional as my right, but I do already know that anyway. So once again, we've got round 2. You might start feeling it slightly differently as the repetitions go on, as long as you're doing it properly, thinking about the upper body, bending the knees, pelvis, all of that. It's all very important. Off we go. Lift, spread, place, push, squeeze. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And swapping sides. Hopefully you're getting this. If you need any cues for the exercises, if they feel too easy, watch it all again and watch for what you might be missing out on. Left foot, lift, spread, place, push, squeeze. 2, lift, spread, place, push down, squeeze. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Final set of 10. Off we go. 1, lift, spread, place, push down, squeeze. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Final go. Pulling my shoulders back, hands are spread wide, close to my body, bending knees. I'm not twisting my pelvis, making sure I'm not adjusting that back foot. It's all about the angle of that back foot. If that cheats, you might lose the whole movement. Keeping my weight even between both feet, but it's going to feel like there's more on that back foot. Off we go. Lift, spread, place, push down, squeeze. Lift, spread, place, push down, squeeze. Lift, spread, place, push down, squeeze. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that is the wonderful short foot.